The story of Echo and Narcissus. Echo was a lovely nymph who was so fond of the sound of her own voice that she seldom stopped talking. One day she met the goddess Juno and talked so much to her that she was rebuked for chattering. Echo answered the goddess rudely and angered her. "For punishment, you shall lose your voice," said Juno. "You shall never speak again except to repeat the last words of others. Go and hide yourself away among the hills, and do not dare come forth to show yourself until someone bids you to do so." Echo ran away in dismay. When she tried to speak, she found that her voice was gone. It was only when she heard others talking that she could say anything, and even then, she could say nothing but the last word she heard. One day, there came to their hills a beautiful youth called Narcissus. His body was straight and white, and his face was fairer than any nymph's. His black hair curled over his broad forehead, and his bright eyes sparkled and shone. Echo peeped from behind a tree and saw him. At once she fell in love with him and longed for him to love her. But how could she show herself to him? For Juno had forbidden her to come forth from her hiding place unless someone bade her to do so. Echo followed the beautiful youth up the mountain. He heard a rustling noise behind him and stopped. He looked round, but could see no one. On he went again, but soon stopped once more, certain someone was following him. "Who's there?" he cried. "There," answered Echo, repeating his last word. "Who are you?" asked the youth, seeing no one. "You," answered Echo. "Do not mock me!" cried Narcissus angrily. "Me!" said poor Echo. Come forth and show yourself here," commanded Narcissus. "Here," Echo answered gladly, and stepped forth in all her loveliness. But Narcissus was angry. He was very vain and thought Echo had mocked him. He paid no heed to her loving looks, and when she put her arms round him, he pushed her roughly away. "I heard you mocking me," he said angrily. "Why do you pretend to love me? You are only making fun of me, and no doubt your friends are behind the trees laughing. Go away!" Sadly, Echo obeyed him, murmuring, "Away," as she glided between the trees, wishing with all her heart that the proud youth might himself love in vain and know what pain it was. Narcissus went on his way up the mountain. Soon he felt thirsty, and coming to a clear pool, he lay down to drink from it. Suddenly, he saw in the water the reflection of his own beautiful face. But he thought it was the nymph looking up at him from the pool, and right away he fell in love with his own reflection. "Sweet nymph, beautiful nymph, will you not come from your pool and play with me?" he begged. The lovely face in the water moved its lips as he moved his lips, but Narcissus could hear no sound coming from them. He stretched out his arms into the pool, but no sooner did they touch the surface of the water than the lovely face vanished. He waited patiently until the water became smooth again, and then once again he leaned over. He smiled at the face below and was overjoyed to see it smile back. He spoke again and saw the lips move with his, but plead as he might, the nymph would not come from the pool. Echo, seeing him talking to someone in the water, peeped over his shoulder to see who it might be. When she saw that there was only his reflection there, she longed to tell him that he had fallen in love with himself. But she could not, for she could only repeat his last words. Then she became very sad, for she saw that her wish had come true. Narcissus loved in vain, for his reflection could never return the fondness he showed it. The poor youth could not leave the pool. In vain he begged the nymph to come forth. In vain he smiled and stretched out his arms. All day he lay there, and all night, for when the bright moon rode in the sky, he saw his reflection clearly and spoke to it lovingly. Days went by, and still Narcissus lay by the water. He neither ate nor drank, for he had forgotten everything save his love for the nymph in the pool. He wept tears into the water, but when he found that they sent away his reflection and broke it up, he wept no more. He could not bear the nymph to go away. Soon he grew thin and pale, and the nymph in the water did likewise. Narcissus was very unhappy. Echo, too, was miserable, for she knew that he would soon die, but she could say nothing to warn him. One morning when the sun rose, the beautiful youth lay pale and dead. So white he was and so lovely as he lay there by the pool that the gods themselves wept for him and for his hopeless love. In pity they changed his body into a flower, as white and lovely as himself, little Narcissus, that loves to grow by the side of water. And still the flower bends over to look at itself in the pools, even as Narcissus leaned over to gaze at his own reflection long ago. For the poor nymph Echo, she pined away in sorrow until there was nothing left of her but a voice. You may hear her still among the hills, repeating your last words, but never again will she be seen.